Hello, and thank you for joining us for our Dear Lady Elect Digging Deeper Bible Study. This is Judy Seligman, and this is Miss Angela Tarr, and we thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be looking at the October letter on page 13 of our study. And thank you again for joining us on Facebook, or if you're looking at us on YouTube, we really appreciate it. And if you can, please hit the like button and give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that. And with that, Angela's going to start at the beginning.
Yeah, of the third letter, October 1988. The last letter was focused on unconditional love. For this letter, we're focused on forgiveness. Families are under attack today as they never have been before. That's in 88. Only increases. I hope you realize that the problems we go through are really spiritual battles, which we have to fight in order to save our homes. There are times I feel more like G.I. Joe than a wife and a mother. I think you know what I mean. We've all been wounded in these battles that take place on the home front. That is why today I want to touch on one of the foundational stones of a strong, unconquerable marriage. Forgiveness.
I don't think we relate forgiveness that much with spiritual warfare, but it is a very crucial part in victory. Forgiveness. And we kind of forget that our battle isn't with flesh and blood, but powers and principalities. When I was reading this week, it struck me in Matthew 26:23 when Peter came to Jesus and Jesus told him that he was going to the cross, and Peter said, no, that's not going to happen to you. And Jesus said, he didn't say, get behind me, Peter.
Right.
He said, get behind me, Satan. Because he knew who his battle was against. It wasn't, he loved Peter. He had no problems with Peter whatsoever. But Peter's thoughts were being fed by the evil one.
Yes.
So he said, get behind me, Satan. And so many times when we're in conflict with somebody, we forget who our conflict's with. And when that happens, we don't love that person. We get in an argument, and we're divided. We're not one. There's not love flowing through us, but our sense of right and wrong. So we have to remember in these spiritual battles we fight, whether it's at home or at work or wherever, that our enemy is not flesh and blood.
Right. And as soon as we start to realize that, hey, there's something happening here. I've realized this more recently, especially. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, stop. We're starting to become divided here. That's a problem. And I have to realize who my enemy is.
Yes.
And it's not the person that's standing in front of me.
Never. It says we do not battle, Ephesians 6:12, against flesh and blood, but powers and principalities. So let's remember, we have an invisible enemy out there. And as long as he remains invisible and unnoticed and undetected, he will win.
Yeah.
But when we recognize him, we have power through the victory of Christ to win in these battles. Now, as we go on here in speaking on the subject of forgiveness, in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, Paul is addressing the church. And there was a brother in the church that committed an unspeakable sin. But he repented. And Paul writes to the church, he said, to forgive this brother. He said, because we're not unaware of the devices of the evil one. So he's calling out unforgiveness as a device of the evil one. So when we don't forgive someone for what they did to us, we're actually a cohort of Satan.
Yeah.
And we're like deserters. We crossed God's army, we left his army, and we went to Satan. And he can use us. Just do something real simple, that somebody hurts you and you didn't forgive them. Someone did something wrong and you hold it to their account. forgiveness is a weapon in our arsenal in spiritual warfare.
Yeah, it's what clears the air and makes things right. And it can bury us if we don't forgive. It can set us up for bitterness and hate, and it can really just destroy a relationship. And that's what the enemy wants.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And destroys really our relationship with God.
Yeah.
It's taking the cross lightly, which we've said many times,
Yeah.
that sin was paid for. So if we want to accept forgiveness, we also have to be willing to forgive, even though they did something wrong.
Right.
We have every right to be angry, but I think we also mentioned waiving your rights. You have to waive your rights when you're a Christian.
Really, forgiveness comes from the cross because Christ died for all sins. I like when Paul said in 1 Corinthians 2, the first couple verses, he says, I want nothing between us except the cross of Christ. Where everything was taken care of at the cross. So I don't have what you did to me between us. I don't have unforgiveness between us. Just the cross where Christ died for all those things. And we put that cross, we plant that cross between us and another relationship. Satan loses.
Right.
And forgiveness has the power to set someone else free. Someone could be caught in their sin. They don't want to be that way. I know someone that keeps coming to me and says, they say I'm sorry an awful lot. Because they're caught in their sin. They don't want to be that way. They don't want to do that all the time. And I have the power by forgiving them to help break those chains. And even if they don't say they're sorry, the power still exists because I'm taking the victory that Jesus Christ won. He paid for their sins. I'm taking their sins, putting them on Christ's cross, accepting Christ's death for them, and saying your sins are paid in full. I forgive you.
Right.
Because of Christ.
Well, and I think about the prayer when the apostles asked Jesus, how do we pray? And he said the Our Father. And in that, Our Father is, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. That's what Jesus said. You know, and
Teaching us how to pray.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And forgiveness is right there. And that is what he came for.
And I love how you said the arsenal of weapons that we
Oh,
have.
yeah, definitely.
Because we have in Ephesians how to put the armor on. So we have some defenses explained with our shield of faith. But offensively, what do we have? And forgiveness is huge.
Yeah,
Huge.
definitely.
It just strikes him down. He can have a victory. And I remember when Dan was drinking, when he would go out at night, I'd say, Father, I'm not holding this to his account. I believe Jesus died for this. So Satan, you think you won by getting him to go drinking? I just
Yeah.
defeated you. I just counteracted your victory in causing someone to sin by forgiving them. So there's no done. I mean, that's a huge victory. And we hold so much to people's accounts, we don't realize that we're actually strengthening, not helping them get free, but strengthening the hold
Right.
that Satan has by imputing it. We're denying the cross, like you said in the Lord's Prayer. We're forgiven, and we forgive based on the same cross that we're forgiven. And if we don't forgive on that basis, then we're not going to experience the fellowship and forgiveness from God.
Yeah, I think that's where my mind was going as you're talking there. And to add to it, we may have expectations for God. You know, we've talked a lot about expectations, but you know, you're praying and you're asking and you just want the grace and mercy that we don't deserve. But this is something we can give back to Christ.
Yeah.
Forgive. We can do something for him that doesn't involve community service type work. You can do something for him every single day. And it's forgiveness.
Yeah.
Well, it gives him glory.
Absolutely. And I think that's really what we strive to do. What actions bring him glory? Forgiveness.
You know, I was actually, I'm going to get off the topic just a little bit, because I was thinking of the phrase, you use it a lot, Debbie, you give God glory. And I think
Yeah.
people really don't understand. If you're not raised in the Christian community,
Yeah.
what does that actually mean?
Oh, well, for me, it means that you are honoring him in your actions and your words with your life.
Do you know the actual meaning of glory is that you reflect him?
Okay.
That's what I thought. Something of that. That's funny. I love that you took that tangent because as I do like a task list, which I actually want to talk to you about today, I'm looking at my tasks going, which ones would give God glory? And that's my new way of prioritizing what I'm doing. So that's so funny that you guys kind of brought that
So
up
when
today.
you're doing something, think to yourself, does this give God glory? Am I looking at Christ and is he reflecting back off of me toward the person in front of me?
Well, it reminds me of when we're told to walk in his steps. You know, and if we're walking in his steps, we're glorifying him and
Yeah.
we're reflecting him.
We reflect, well, he's
Yeah.
in us and he's
We're made in his image.
yeah, yes.
Yeah.
And you know, so that's I just thought I'd bring it up because you use the phrase a lot. And I know that there's people that never
You're
read
not-
the Bible,
Yeah.
that don't go to church. I hope you're listening because you'll learn something, perhaps. Okay. Now, let's get on to the next paragraph. Who's reading?
Well,
Are we done there?
Yeah, you know
usually
what we did.
next week.
Oh, okay, you're right. Can we have,
We're just having so much fun.
Yes,
We want to keep it going. But just introducing forgiveness and the concept of spiritual warfare. We do have an arsenal of weapons against Satan, and forgiveness is number one.
it is so powerful.
It's powerful, and you get the opportunity to glorify God. So when can we do things for Him instead of asking what He can do for us?
Yeah, we're actually believing what he did for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we're implementing it in our life.
Yeah.
We're grateful, and our gratefulness is in forgiving. So let's think of somebody today or this week that maybe you haven't forgiven. Maybe they really hurt you. Take that sin to the cross and believe that Jesus Christ already paid the penalty for it. And let that person go. You'll find freedom yourself in that.
Absolutely.
Because we've experienced that. It's just forgiving. They've hurt you. They were wrong in your eyes. You can still forgive them.
Yes.
Well, thank you again for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you next Thursday night on Facebook and perhaps YouTube. You can always pull us up there, and have a great week. Thanks again.
Thank you.